With the recent acquisition of Twitter by the funny electric car rocket man, and then the subsequent mass layoffs, and then demand for high-intensity long hours to rebuild Twitter into Twitter 2.0, leading to more people likely going to quit over the next couple of months, there is a lot of genuine concern over whether Twitter will actually survive. Now, I don't care if it does. If it dies, that's cool. Go to the fediverse. And I don't really care about Elon's politics either. If that's your thing, go check out someone else's channel for that. What I want to talk about instead are legitimate systems issues that can occur when you fire half your team. And there was this giant thread written on a bunch of potential scenarios that could go on under this situation. Now, none of these are directly related to Twitter itself, but these are things that can occur when you're in a situation like this. We are not going to look at the entire thing because that will take way too long, but I'll pick and choose ones that seem fun to talk about. I've seen a lot of people asking, why does everyone think Twitter is doomed? As an SRE, a site reliability engineer, and a systems admin with 10 plus years of industry experience, I wanted to write up a few scenarios that are real threats to the integrity of the bird site over the coming weeks. For context, I've seen some variant of every one of these problems pose a serious threat to a billion-user application. I've even caused a couple of the more technical ones. I've been involved with triaging and fixing even more. Random hard drive fill-ups. You have no idea how common it is for a single box to cause cascading failures across systems, even well-engineered fault-tolerant ones with active maintenance. Where's the box? What's filling it up? Who will figure that out? It is a very common scenario that you'll hear if you go looking on any DevOps forums. Someone will say, hey, we have this Linux box, it's been turned on for 10 years, we don't know what it does, and we don't know what will happen if we turn it off. And even a company like Twitter, Google, Facebook are going to have some of these devices sitting around. It may not cause a failure, but if you fire the only guy who knows what that box does, you might be in for some trouble. Bad code push takes the site down. Preventing this was my day job, and I can tell you that it's one of the scariest scenarios for any SRE team, much less a completely understaffed and burnt out one. And following that, bad code push takes the site down in a way that also fricks up the ability to push new code. This is the absolute nightmare scenario for teams like mine. When something like this happens, it's all hands on deck. Without deep systems understanding, you might never get it back up. The hope is that bad code is thoroughly tested and doesn't ever make its way to production, especially code that is this bad. And even a team that isn't stressed out, that has plenty of time, is going to make mistakes. If you then take that team and then replace them with a burnt out team working these extra long hours, well, the chance of mistakes being made goes up dramatically. The system you use to find other systems internally goes down. None of your systems can talk to each other. The site and all your tools immediately fail. The tools you need to revert the breaking change are all fricked. Can you figure this one out with a skeleton team? So a service like Twitter isn't just going to have one server or a bunch of servers in a single data center. They're going to have servers all across the world. And you don't just send out engineers on planes to go and fix those servers. You're going to have a system that is going to connect all of those servers together so you can easily monitor them. And if that system goes down, then you lose the ability to monitor them, and then you actually need people on the ground to find out what's actually going on. And this starts taking a lot more time to fix things, and it gets a lot more expensive. It's 5 PM on Friday. The dashboards all go red at once. The web fleet is seeing cascading reboots. The disks have been filling up since Wednesday. There were hundreds of code changes across multiple interlocking systems on Wednesday. Revert any of them at your own risk. Oh no, you reverted one of them. Now every locked account's tweets are visible to everyone. People might literally get murdered with machetes over their posts. That's not a hypothetical. It's now 9 PM, the site is fricked. Who are you going to call? Now, some of these tweets do start getting a little bit extreme, but in certain parts of the world, this is a legitimate concern, and people actually have been killed over things happening on Twitter. On the topic of being very serious, how do you feel about the feds and data collection? The FBI wants to inspect the content of the DMs of someone they think is about to commit 9/11 to. Do you have a system to grant them access? Do you refuse them access? How do you know it is really them? And then you grant them access. Now someone from a country known for horrific human rights violations is knocking. They have an official looking subpoena. Do you let them see a dissident's DMs? Can you articulate why? You might need to in a very official court somewhere in Europe. And then another country is telling you they want all of your data on their users stored on servers in their country. Do you have policy experts for that country? Do you have a lot of very motivated lawyers? Do you have an infrastructure engineer who knows how to petition your data just so? And this specific scenario isn't really that crazy. This happened very recently with TikTok. The US didn't want US customer data stored on the China servers and have now been moved over to Oracle servers. This is something that's happening pretty often and is only getting more and more common. GDPR. You're found in violation. It took a team of hundreds of engineers, lawyers, policy experts, designers, and managers months of hardcore engineering to be in compliance in the first place. Can you get back? I assure you, not doing so will cost more than your organization's headcount. And considering the fact that Twitter just completely broke its copyright system, people were uploading literal full movies. You could watch the entirety of the Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift, a really good movie, in 49 tweets. People were doing this with a bunch of other movies. Earlier today, people were apparently streaming the World Cup, and some of those accounts have been banned, but they just keep cropping up over and over and over again. A lot of them existed for multiple days. Oops, you didn't hire a content moderation team. Now, over the years, people have gotten very angry about Twitter's moderation, and there is certainly a discussion to be had about whether certain words, whether certain topics, whether certain ways of speaking should be allowed on Twitter. But I hope that everybody, at least all of the sane people, can agree that certain things, certain really heinous things, especially involving children, shouldn't be on the internet. Your site is full of very nasty stuff. Everyone leaves because it's so unpleasant. Or worse for you personally, you get dragged into court for breaking all kinds of decency, piracy, and privacy/harassment laws. Or maybe you do have a moderation team, but you don't have adequate tooling and they don't have adequate time to work. They are completely overwhelmed by the literally millions of reports. They burn out and you can't replace them fast enough, and number 38 happens anyway. Speed. Scrolling. You wouldn't believe how many tens of thousands of people will stop using your app forever if some Android change adds the slightest lag to scroll times. Do you have client perf experts left? What if the problem keeps getting worse? How do you debug it? Now, this isn't directly related to speed, but I've been seeing the Hive social platform suddenly booming. No one knew about it a week ago. No one's going to know about it a week from now. And part of the reason no one's going to know about it is it's a mess. So it's made by two guys, and they suddenly got all of these users. So I'm not blaming the guys. Now, I try to sign up for the app on the Android version. It goes through all of the stuff. It's like, okay, we'll send you a token. But then down the bottom, it's like, hey, there is suspicious activity from this device. We are not going to do anything. So I'm like, okay, are you going to send me the token? Are you not? I try to log in, and then it's like, something is wrong, try again later. I try again, something is wrong, try again later. And now I'm probably never going to use the app because it doesn't work. And the next one, speed. Cold start. If you add 5 seconds of the time it takes to start your app from nothing, you will tank your onboarding rate to an unbelievable degree. I mean, push it into the freaking ground. They will never try the app, ever. Have perf experts on all client platforms. And speed, hot start. Some Android change makes it where loading the app takes 1 second longer. Suddenly, 25,000 fewer people are using your app every day. Those numbers will start to grow. I know it seems ridiculous, but this is real. How do you track start times, and do you? And when it comes to the app, this is something that Elon has been actively angry about. He has been complaining how bad the Twitter app actually works, and how bad it works in certain regions like India, for example, where it's apparently even worse. Deletion. You need to know for sure that data is deleted from the site. This is far more important than you think. If a post is deleted, is it wiped from cache? What happens to the post in read-only cold storage? If you frick this up, you're gonna 100% end up in court. In Europe, you have things like the GDPR, in California, you have the CCPA, and I wouldn't be surprised as we go more and more into this internet age, there are more regions that are creating these bills. Now, obviously, people are gonna have to vote people in that actually want these bills to exist, but if they do, then it's going to become more and more of a problem for these social media platforms. And speaking of data, replication. Frick. You have, say, 5 primary regions. Each region has a copy of all mission-critical data. One day, some engineer realized that some data in A is different in B. This is apocalyptically bad. Which region is correct? How do you decide? How do you fix it? Who else loves eventual consistency? Let's have these different sets of data in all of these different regions because collecting this in one place is basically impossible with how much traffic we have, but at some point that data has to be merged back together. How do you do that? Well, it's very complex. It's very, very difficult, and it really depends on how your system is structured, and you need people with a deep understanding of your system to actually manage that. And the last one I'm going to talk about, payments. There are so many laws, regulations, and policies around payments that you absolutely must be in compliance with. Any slip up can get your ass yanked from the banking system. No doggy coins won't cut it. Ads, verification, whatever your revenue is freaking gone. And creator monetization is something that Elon has also discussed alongside monetizing Twitter. This is something he's gone back and forth with Mr. Beast about, and I don't know what's gonna happen here. It would be neat if Twitter had some sort of monetization strategy, but we'll have to see how that goes. Right now, it doesn't seem like they have money to actually pay back the interest on the loan that Elon took out, so, we'll see how it goes. Now, I said at the start, and the author said it as well, the point of this thread is not that these problems are unique to Twitter. Not at all. Any sufficiently complex/popular technical system will face some or all of these scenarios, and smart people have set up great existing processes for addressing them. Twitter already has those processes too. The point is, facing these problems with a skeleton crew without sufficient time for a transfer of tribal knowledge is a recipe for disaster. You need enough boots on the ground, and you need people who know the magic incantations. But what do you think? Separating out your politics from the situation, do you think that Twitter is in for a rough time going forward with the team they have? Or do you think they're going to be able to work it out and Twitter is going to be a better platform than ever? I would love to know. And do you even care? Do you just use something else? Do you primarily use the fediverse like a lot of people are starting to do? And I've had a fediverse account for a really long time. But let me know your thoughts down below. So if you like this video, I'm going to go and like the video. And if you really like the video and you want to become one of these amazing people over here, go check out my Patreon, subscribe, Center Robertson, linked in the description down below. I've got a podcast called Tech Over Tea. I've got a gaming channel called Brodie Robertson Plays. That's going to be it for me, and I'm out.